Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Goal Lounge. We're coming to you live from obviously our executive suite of lounges. That's how we roll here at Goal Lounge. We've got the usual stuff. We've got Sello, who loves talking United game. We talk so much, I often have to cut him off. And also because he's so tall. We met him, like some of the guys met him for the first time last week. The man is a giant. Tell you about his team. We've got Wonga, who is a development coach for Cuba Coaching. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. People will say his one flaw is that he supports the Gunners. We've got Mosa, who was an ex-pro. Go check his Wikipedia page. He's got a total of 4 caps and 5 red cards and 1 missing tooth. That is Mosa. And then we've got Nick, who has his UEFA A, or do you have your UEFA A license yet or not?
Oh, COVID's killing me. I should have had it by now, but I'm waiting.
Okay, so he's in the process of getting it. He is
one step to go. One step to go.
Yep. And he's Newcastle's #1 fan in South Africa. And he also coaches the under-19 Amatuk's side. Yeah. So, these are guys that know some football. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Tottenham, Newcastle's game, Brighton, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, as well as the West Brom, Chelsea game, and City, Leicester. One thing to point out before we get into that is that both teams that didn't have successful weekends, the guys, all the speakers, aren't wearing their shirts. Although, wait, no, Wonga's got his shirt on. Okay, Wonga's got his shirt on. It's all good. And before we continue, don't forget to like, share, comment, and obviously hit the notifications, because the more you do that, the more we can comment with you while we're shooting live. So let's kick it off. We're going to start with the guy who got his prediction right for the weekend. That is Tottenham, Newcastle. Nick, you must be over the moon.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what. We were absolutely played off the park. It should have been 5-0 to Spurs in the first half. You know what? I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. But at the end of the day, Bruce's mighty Mags fought to the end. We got a penalty, maybe dubious. To the rule book, probably right. But I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw any day of the week. I know you like the penalties, Sello, so I think your tackles are very welcome.
He's probably loving all the penalties.
I'm spreading the love. I'm spreading the love. Everyone's got except for Arsenal.
Yeah, we have to take it, but you know what? I'll tell you what. For me, I'm very concerned as a Newcastle fan. I watched them last night against Newport, League 2 side, and there's just absolutely no direction. There's no pattern of play. There's no sort of philosophy of how we want to play. It's literally we start the play, we get the ball back to the centre backs, the right backs, and we just bomb it forward, and hopefully we can have a flick on, and then we get in behind. Pretty much how we played Varsity Cup 2013, Mosa and Claudio, to be fair.
Except that we won.
At the end of the day, we won. So the thing is, I think you're playing against better teams here in the Premier League, and they suss you out. So unfortunately, I'm just a bit concerned in terms of if we play a better team, we might be in a little bit of trouble. Take a point away from home. We've got 4 points away from home in 2 games. We'll take that any day of the week. We were showed up against Brighton the week before. I can only hope for the best at home. Hopefully we can turn it on. Callum Wilson obviously delivered the goods. I think John Joe Shelby delivered the goods this week. He came up with a good sort of goal, but I'm a little bit concerned with the sort of what direction and if we have any direction. But all in all, points away from home against Spurs. Mourinho wasn't happy. I saw him walking down the tunnel. That's always great to see, even though I love him. I love him having his tantrums and, blaming whoever it is. But at the end of the day, the scoreline reflects what it does, and I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah, man. And I think
so. Nick, you're not like Steve Bruce, like that's rubbish penalty. It's a rub of the green, whatever. If it was against you guys, how would you have felt?
So I like I said to you, I went to my A license course last year, June, and we actually had a chat with. I think I told you on the weekend, Clouds, the IFAB sort of refereeing when they amended the rules. And to the rule book, that's correct. If the arm is extended from the body and it hits it in any sort of way, there's no sort of accidental. The word accidental has been taken out of the rule book or the laws of the game. So if it hits you, like as awkward as it was for Dyer, like it was really unfortunate for him. I'm gonna take it because I'm a Newcastle fan and fuck Spurs, to be honest with you.
I feel like
97 minutes, you know what I mean?
Of course you'll take it, but it gives you another point closer to 40 points.
Yeah, closer to 40 points. So I've only got 36 to go. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I feel like the penalties that we've seen over the course of the past couple of weeks is going to leave everybody in a space where, if it were happening against our teams, it would be a tricky position. But we're kind of happy that it's happening with our teams. It's like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
What I'm scared of is players are going to purposefully pass the ball onto someone's hand. You know what I mean? So you'll be in a situation where the defender's marking you, and then you're just going to almost chip it to the guy's hand.
Yeah.
And it hits his hand, and it's like a penalty. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you aiming his hand, which is not
sort of a grey area. I mean, I think once the decision. I mean, I think the sort of refereeing panel is probably in a bit of a pickle at the moment. They probably see the side of the fans and the coaches saying, "Well, listen, this is a little bit ridiculous, but we've kind of put the rules on paper. They have to follow them." Because
but Nick, here's the thing though. The biggest problem is, and I think they're showing this in a movie before. Like, it's these guys that are coming up with the rules that probably have never played the game.
Yeah,
they're making these rules. They don't understand football. It's not as black and white as people make it out to be. I mean, this game's been played for over 100 years. There's interpretation. I mean, Mosa was a defender. I defended. Wonga defended. We know as defenders. I mean, the guy he was watching where the ball went over his head. He didn't even know where the ball was behind.
He extended his arm.
So what I'm saying is, eventually it's going to be a tactic where the managers are going to say, you know what, guys, if you're a defender and you're going to be in the box, let's just tie your hands behind your back completely and play with just your legs.
I saw something, a tweet from one of the fans I follow, and I actually tend to agree with him. And I think it was how Mope last night. I don't know if you guys watched. I think it was last night because I know they played
United.
Yeah. Right. But I don't know if Man United got a penalty last night. I can't remember if it was on the weekend.
No, the weekend.
Yeah, it was last night. On the weekend. What the tweet had said is that Dyer had realized that he wasn't going to win the ball, so he naturally extended his arm to try and, as a natural reaction to, I don't know, block it. So that was sort of a weak Newcastle defense in that sense. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried about that, to be fair. It swings and roundabouts. It's going to happen to my team later on in the season. I'm going to cry about it on here with you lads. And I think it's going to happen to all of us, except for Man United, because they just get so many penalties week in, week out.
It happened already. It happened already against Palace. It happened already against Palace where Lindelof was a chance to handball the ball. And, he didn't it wasn't. It was the same thing. He didn't go. He was running, and then if you're running like this, and then the ball hits you here when you're running, what must you do? You know what I mean? And even the Palace players, no one.
But for me, just to close, just a comment on that is that, I'm actually kind of for this new movement. I think they're probably going to definitely adjust it, but like they said, accidental. Accidental. You can't judge what an accident was in soccer. I can say the only way to find if it was an accident is, if you ask the player, and then is the player going to tell the truth?
No. I had a lot of those accidental handballs.
But there has to be the rule. The rules. They have to make the rules so that it's not. What is the word? It's not. It's actually just one judgment. You can see it's not ambiguous, and that's what they've done. I can respect what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so that every time it touches the hand, it's kind of like you expect a penalty more than you don't expect a
Yeah,
penalty.
and before there was still arguments. When someone touched the ball, like, oh no, that's accidental. And now we argue, no, that's accidental now, because now they're giving that away. But yeah, I think it will change, and I'm pretty sure it'll change for the better. But I think they're heading in the right direction.
At least Man United is going to score a few more goals than last year.
Yeah, watch out. Bruno Fernandes is going to be top goal scorer.
Guys, our penalty was fair. You know what I mean? The guy literally went to block that ball with his arm. So at least that one's fair. But yeah, man, I feel like the Premier League is turning out to be. I don't know how much you guys follow Serie A and La Liga. Like some of the penalties that Juventus last season. There was a match against Atalanta where I think if Atalanta won that game, they probably would have been a point behind Juventus, and Juventus got 2 penalties in the game, and players were just they had their arms by their side, and then the ball hit one of the players' arms, and it was said it's a penalty, and I'm like, what the flip, you know what I mean? Atalanta should have won the game 1-0. And end up losing 2-1 to Juventus because of the penalties. It's rubbish.
But it's fair. Like I think it's the English Premier League is very physical. Like when you do encounter the English Premier League, the players are going to be physical in your face and the like. It's fair that in the penalty box there is a little bit more sensitivity of anything. If you look at a lot of the penalties that took place over the weekend, yes, there were handballs here and there which were dubious, but there were a lot of contact penalties which were fair to actually be awarded. In light of leagues, if you're comparing it to the Italian league and the Spanish leagues, it'd be fair. In the box, it's going to be that element where the box is a red hot kitchen again. Defenders must be very wary in there.
But I always see it from a perspective where if you're a defender, Mosa, I mean, your job's to stop any goal from happening, right? So now, if it's hitting your hand and it's that fortuitous where it's barely a glance, it's literally just brushed the arm and you've gotten a handball. For me, that's a lot of nonsense. Like when you make a decision of a handball, you've already got to analyze like what's the purpose of the handball? Why is the handball a foul in the first place, right? So it's like, is the ball deviating enough? Is the ball going directly into the goal? Is it like, how is it impeding the direction of the attacker? That's the big question for me. Has it impeded the attacker completely? Then yes, and give it a handball. If it wasn't even going close or wasn't even going to find a play, or if it wasn't even going on goal, then surely if it's completely accidental and it hasn't changed any dynamic apart from because it's a huge decision, right? It's exactly what Sello was saying. Then eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to be in the box. I'm going to wait for the defender. And my best chance then is instead of actually just taking a shot at goal, let me just try and pass the ball into the Oak's hand because I'm definitely going to get something. That's the difference. Yeah. That's where I think there's a miss. The concept of giving a handball, especially in a box, is more advantageous for an attacking team than it is for the defending team. And I suppose us being defenders, that's why I take that stance. But I suppose if you're neutral, the more goals, the better it is for a fan, except for the fact that everyone's complaining. I mean, a result, and look at Spurs now, the Spurs-Newcastle game. That was a guaranteed 3 points. That was a classic Mourinho. They had 1 goal. They would have seen it through. But now they've lost 2 points because of a decision like that.
Yeah. It's going to be nice. At least it takes that conversation. Like when VAR came into the play, it was always like first of all, I don't like the system at all. I think there's a lot of problems with VAR, and the way it stops and starts the game is it kills momentum. So I don't like that premise. But when it did come into play, the big thing that most people were worried about is the conversations that would happen after a football game. Because historically, you'd find a lot of games where guys would hit handballs, hand of God, and the likes, and games would be won on those decisions which weren't fully caught, or the referee was human. There was human error, and it seems like VAR hasn't actually fully eliminated that human error. It seems like it's still there, and that's nice to see conversations still taking place. That the system is good when it's offside, and weird when it's offside. When you see it for like a finger toe, and like. When you actually see it for penalties, it's quite nice to see actually handball. Thing.
You know what I liked about VAR on the weekend was I don't know if you guys saw in the Man United game where Pogba was adjudged to have fouled the guy, from behind, and literally Pogba he just ran across and then he just stopped, and then the guy almost like threw himself into Pogba to make it seem like he touched him and then he fouled. VAR helped so from the back. It looks like Pogba has touched his ankle or whatever, but in actual fact, Pogba was across him, and then he moved away, and the player played for the contact, and then obviously they overturned the penalty. So VAR does have its place, but I understand what you say, Mosa, that in terms of they take too long to sometimes look at the incidents. You know what I mean? You know, we need fast decisions so the game can continue. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like what you said though, Mosa. It's like you've got these sort of objective calls that are meant to be made, all right? But at the end of the day, with something like a handball, how can it be objective when people interpret the law differently? And that's the problem. So maybe and that's where I'm saying, why even bring VAR into the conversation? Rather just stick to where it is successful. Like you said, offsides, guaranteed it's going to work. Is that a goal? Isn't a goal? It's going to work. Let's keep it there until we sussed out the law. Also, I don't know why they're getting they want to change all these things. I don't get they're clearly not improving the game. They're not improving. I don't understand. Yeah. Anyway, on this, I like Sello ending the note because we're going to move on to the next game. Is the Ole time? I know it used to be called Fergie time, but we're going to move to the Brighton versus United 3-2 game and what actually happened there and how they rode their luck and got away with 3 points.
Yeah, no, that was a great escape. Very lucky to get the 3 points. Performance was same as the previous game against Palace. Performance wasn't great. There was glimpses of quality in terms of certain players. Rashford showed some quality, but just in general, the general play wasn't great as a team. So what Brighton?
What is going on at Man United at the moment? Is there anything in the locker room? What's going on?
No, to be honest, I think it's just. I don't know if they're rusty or what, but at least yesterday in the League Cup game, they looked much better. You know what I mean? Yes, it was a different lineup, but there was a bit more confidence in the play. Even when the other players came on, the starters, Pogba and Rashford came on, they changed the game. They looked more comfortable. So I don't know if it's a slow start to the season, or are the players just taking the instructions well, or are the other teams just sharper? You know what I mean? So sometimes the other teams can be sharper in play. Pogba, for instance, right? I can see Pogba in the weekend game. He was trying too hard. You know what I mean? He used to just make things simple, make the easy pass, but he's always trying to do the difficult passes. And I think he needs just a couple of games. Even yesterday, he looked a bit more confident, but also he was playing a bit higher up. He wasn't playing as a pivot. He was playing more as an 8. So I think Ole needs to change the formation as well and play rather 4-3-3 instead of 4-2-3-1, just so they can get the best out of Pogba. Because Pogba wants to, contribute on the offensive end as well. But if you pass him the ball between the centre backs, then that's too deep for Pogba. You know what I mean? He needs to be a bit further up. So I think the tactics that Ole is having is not the best right now. But yeah, I was more pleased with the performance yesterday than on the past weekend. So,
Sello, what do you think of Mata? I thought he was class last night. Do you think
he was brilliant? He was brilliant.
Is there no way you can form part of something there? I think he's got something to add, eh?
No, I definitely agree. I think the thing with Mata that you'll see, right? It even happened when Bruno Fernandes signed for United earlier this year. When he played with Mata in a couple of games, right? Maybe Europa League and FA Cup, they look great together. They say they're on the same wavelength. There's quality. He's a quality player. Same yesterday with him and Donny van der Beek. The touches that those was amazing.
I'm laughing because Wonga's making things romantic. I don't know what's going on. There's some sort of alliance happening between Arsenal. Sorry, Sello.
You know how we stare at each other when we talk football.
What's happening, Wonga?
Yeah. I think to Nick's point with Mata for me, but whenever he plays, he always offers United something different. He tends to unlock the quick players. And whenever he played against Liverpool in particular, he always did damage. So the only problem with him is he doesn't have the legs. So he doesn't fit within what Ollie wants to do in terms of that traditional Sir Alex Ferguson, play down the wings, use the pace, get forward. I mean, so what I'm not sure about... Yeah, more the luxury.
He should like he's used him on the right hand side before, So I think that could be an alternative to playing Greenwood always. Sometimes you need to obviously give Greenwood a rest as well. He only turned 19 today, so he could play Mata on the right as another option because he's tried Daniel James on the right, and Daniel James on the right isn't the right up to Greenwood. And even yesterday, Dan James on the left wasn't that great. So I foresee actually that he might try actually Donny van der Beek on the left a bit because United like to attack on the left.
Yeah, why didn't he play on the weekend? I mean, a new signing, 40 million pounds, and he doesn't play him. I don't understand that.
It looks like it's tough for him to adjust to the United front six. That front six, I know, Sello, you think it's really, really like a really strong front six, but honestly, there's some players that it feels like they're not really sure-footed about where they are in terms of positioning, sure-footed in terms of how they should approach the game. And to slot in a new player there is tricky, man. Like everybody then floats around as opposed to kind of direct type of football.
My problem with Ole is that he's not flexible in his formations. You know what I mean? So you find other coaches in Europe, they're quite flexible. If I look at Real Madrid, Real Madrid will play without wingers, for instance, right? They'll play a 4-man midfield. Literally, they'll play a 4-3-1-2. You know what I mean? That's what they play on the weekend. Or they'll play with the wingers one day, 4-3-3. But Ole just 4-2-3-1, 4-2-3-1, Whereas when he came in as an interim manager, there was a match where against Tottenham, he played a diamond in the midfield. He had McTominay, Pogba, Matic, and Fred in the center of midfield, and he had Martial and Rashford up front. So he's never tried that again since he's been a permanent manager, where he's played actually four midfielders and basically no wingers and playing two center forwards. So you should try that rather. And then obviously Donny van der Beek could have space in the team where it'd obviously be maybe Donny van der Beek as a 10, and then on the right and left would be Pogba and Fernandes, and then Matic is the base. So he's not flexible in formations. I don't know why he hasn't tried something different. You got to try formations. There's been no preseason. You can try these things within the season, and you try it for 30 minutes in a game. If it doesn't work, revert back to what you know. But you need to try something different. Also, not to be predictable as well.
So he did try him on the cup game, so that is like a glimmer of hope for him, to try and figure it out.
I think he finds himself in a super, super difficult situation. It's like the club are in a weird place where they can't get the players they want to sign. It's almost, to me, it feels like the Van der Beek thing wasn't necessarily a player it wasn't his priority, let's say. We all know who the priority is. They're not landing the priority. Now they're looking for other guys to fill.
Fun Jadon Sancho.
Yes, Sancho's his priority. But the problem is United.
I'm sure Sello's played already.
The GoFundMe. There's a GoFundMe.
I'll have enough money to send to GoFundMe pages. Come on, man.
Jeez, yeah. So I think they're in an interesting spot where, I read an article saying they've lost the dark arts in the transfers. They don't have that appeal to come to United. And they've also, the problem with United is when they sign players, or in particular, they've got a lot of players on their books that they're trying to flog. We know this. The likes of Smalling, the likes of Jones, the likes of Rojo, and the list goes on and on. The problem is what they've done is they've extended contracts for these players, but by extending contracts so they can sell them so they don't make a loss. But what they've done is they've broken their wage structure. So you've got all these players that are sitting on £100,000 plus a week. So when clubs now, in particular, in this market that we're talking about with COVID, it is a buying market, not necessarily a selling, because you're not going to get your money back. But what's happening is the clubs like your Genoas and your Romas and all these Italian clubs and these other clubs that want to buy these players, they can only afford 50% of their salaries or their wages. So the issue is they've got guys that want to take these players, but the players are going, cool, they're sitting ducks. They're like, why should we leave? We're earning over 100,000 plus. So United's whole policy, their policy in terms of how they...
I'll rot in the reserves for double my salary.
It's investment bankers. That's the problem, man. It's
short career.
You gotta make your money, somehow. Like Gareth Bale did at Madrid. But I think it's the hierarchy. Ed Woodward never played a day of football in his life. So obviously he's gonna be like, okay, cool. I've got a guy. Phil Jones, he's left in his contract. I need to make some money off him. What do? Extend his contract. That's so stupid, you know. A player like Phil Jones should have lost what I think it was when Ole came in. He had 1 year left when he came in as interim manager. He should just let Phil Jones run out his contract and then leave for free. It's okay, you know what I mean. If a player doesn't do well in his time, especially an injury-prone player, doesn't do well in his time, they let him go. You know, Smalling is different. Smalling has value because Smalling has been one of the better defenders at United over the last couple of years. You know, it's just obviously maybe it doesn't fit the current way that Solskjaer wants to play. And he did well at Roma. He was one of the best defenders in Serie A. You know, obviously now it's just a matter of Roma meeting the price that we want for them. But yeah, players like Rojo and Jones definitely should have never gotten extended contracts. Luckily, Rojo didn't get an extended contract. He just got a long-term contract when he did sign. But yeah, it's tough to move on players if you're paying them the wages that we're paying them. They're trying to rectify things now. But yeah, the errors that they've made in the past is shocking, man. I just need to get a director of football in place. You know, they could hire me. I'm available. I'll fly to the UK. I know
It'll be just as good as some of the other signings, Chief.
I'll be a director of football. You know, I know what's wrong with the team. You know, I can you know, be a wheeler dealer, make some good decisions for the club going forward. You know.
Yeah. On that note, I like Sello's putting his name out there. He's going to send his CV over the weekend, see what happens. If he can get goal launch through the door, I'll be happy. We're gonna move over to the Liverpool Arsenal game. But the issue that I'm having right now is I can't see Wonga's face because he's that disgraced about the performance. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why he switched off the light. It feels like one of those. It feels like one of those carte blanche interviews. It's like,
he's hiding. And he'll probably get another hiding today.
Yeah, Wonga. So tell me your thoughts about this game, because I've obviously got strong opinions as to what happened and where everything's at. Let's speak about that, man.
I won't even lie. I thought that Arsenal they just made a better team on the day. I was kind of expecting it. You know, not kind of. It's like literally what you're expecting, actually. If you looked at the games they played before as well, Arsenal, they only had, and it's the same way they beat Man City. And these cup finals, I can't remember what cup finals they were. I think one was FA Cup and one was the Liverpool was that opening cup. What is it?
Community Shield.
Yeah, the Community Shield. So if you looked at Arsenal, how they won those games, it was literally one opportunity. The first opportunity they got, they put it away, and that was pouncing off an error from those teams, Man City and Liverpool. I'm looking at teams that are strong in the way they played last year. And when I look at the stats, and then Arsenal had, I think, in total 8 shots, 2 on target, but Liverpool had a tremendous amount. And I think we were very lucky that Liverpool didn't score on the day, even though Liverpool weren't, playing very well. And come now, they just played Leeds, and they just hammered. Who do you guys just hammer now? Chelsea, yeah. And I was like, look, that looked like the Liverpool that won the league last season. You can't beat the defense, and it's exactly what happened on Saturday. Arteta had praise for them as well, saying that obviously the guys you try and beat Liverpool press. You try and press Liverpool, but then they get out of your press quickly by giving the ball to Van Dijk, and Van Dijk just pass it through ball to Mane, Salah, or Firmino. But they know what's happening, but they can't stop it. Basically, what I was going to say.
Sounds like tough time.
Now, look, all in all, I'm still pleased with Arsenal. It's what I was expecting. We played against Liverpool. We played against other teams. Liverpool, like you saw how they won the season. Lost Liverpool. Mars, they like everyone is here. Number 2 is here. Liverpool is up here, and the rest, everyone else is a bit closer. You know, even Man City as well. And I think I'll judge myself against them.
So what are you saying? What are you saying? Are you saying the Premier League race is pretty much a one horse race? Is that what you're saying?
I don't see anyone beating Liverpool the way they play. I can't see anyone beating them. Tottenham going to beat them? Man United? Man City? No.
Yeah.
Newcastle, bro. What are you talking about?
I haven't seen it.
Newcastle. No, on that point.
I think Newcastle can give them some tough time, man.
Yeah.
Steve Bruce.
No,
Steve Bruce is 90 mags.
to be fair, Wonga, I think I agree with you. I mean, we've got 3 games played. Liverpool have won all 3 games. Out of the 3 games that they've played, they've beaten Arsenal and they've beaten Chelsea already. They were somewhat meant to be challenging, at least for the Champions League, and they made easy work of it. So for me, being a Liverpool fan, it was, wow, man, like all the players were just buzzing. It's almost like the new signings coming in. All of a sudden, we've got squad depth as well. We've got players left, right, and center to come into any position. Jota comes off the bench, he scores. Mane was absolutely menacing again. I don't know what he's on. I don't know what he takes before the game. I don't know, because he just doesn't stop, dude. It's actually unbelievable how he just runs up and down. And Keita had a great game. For me, if I'm looking at Arsenal from the positives in terms of the game, they weren't afraid to play out from the back, which wasn't bad. I think that was decent. They knew there was only one way to stop them. What are we smiling at? Guys are gone quiet, Joe. What's going on there?
Claudio, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I thought that Arsenal, especially in the first half, there was a time, and that's what I didn't like. It's like if you're gonna play this game, play it. They looked a bit shaky and scared to play that part. I saw every time they passed to Leno would, put the ball forward, and they kept on losing the ball. They were at times a bit scared to do what they were doing.
They were scared. They were scared. Of course, they were scared because they're playing against the team that plays in the best attacking manner in terms of pressing. They're the best in the world right now in terms of a pressing game. So they were scared, but you got to commend them for the fact that there's a way in which he wants to play. And technically speaking, the only way to beat Liverpool is to do what they did. If you have to look at it on paper, in terms of chances created and technically, had Lacazette taken his chances, they were still in the game. At one point, it would have been 2-2. And the way in which you do that, Liverpool pressed so high that if you can, the problem with Arsenal's whole approach on the weekend was that they didn't have a player in the midfield to unlock things. They had Xhaka and they had, used Elneny. And between those 2 players, you've got Xhaka who's just average at everything, and then you got Elneny he's the destroyer. He's the destroyer.
When Ceballos came on, Ceballos
They love Xhaka. Why are they loving?
Ceballos made a huge difference.
Yeah, Ceballos.
He says
you're right.
He's going to win the Champions League in 2 years, and that guy's 34. How can Xhaka beat the plan? It should be, for me, should be making that change now. Make Xhaka's change now.
How old is Xhaka?
He's 34.
No ways, man. Xhaka's younger than that. No ways.
Yeah, Xhaka's younger than that, dude. I think you're thinking of William, man. Xhaka can't be 34.
Xhaka can't be 34.
Anyway, not the point. The point is...
That's not the point. What you're saying in terms of that whole point of they were missing quality in the center of midfield, and I can't believe he started on Nini and Xhaka. He should have started at least Xhaka and Ceballos, rather, because Ceballos at least has something. He's a bit creative. He can make a pass. He's got a bit of arrogance about him. He can make something out of nothing. Whereas
and that's all that Aubameyang needs. You need somebody that's just gonna try and link Aubameyang to the rest of the squad.
Exactly. Ceballos came on and he created opportunities.
Thank you, Kevin. Guys, he's 28 years old. What kind of Arsenal guy? Listen, you're on a trial, my friend. You firstly blacking yourself out in this picture in front of you, and then you're throwing out the wrong names here.
Sorry.
I'm like, Xhaka never can be above 30 years old.
No, man, drugs. This looks on drugs. Nick, what is your take from the situation at the moment?
Like, I understand where you're
My mistake.
He's looking to shoot that.
In terms of Arsenal, I'll be honest with you, the first half, I thought they actually did all right. I know they were, I think they go 1-1 or 2-1 down towards the end, but before they took the lead, I think they contained Liverpool as well as any team has probably done this year. I'm not talking the season, this year. And I think Arteta needed sort of a bit of praise in terms of, I thought they were going to go gung-ho, play the way City plays. That's his sort of philosophy. But he was very cautious in the way he defended. He didn't press high as I thought he probably would have. He played out of the back, but when it was on, when it wasn't on, he sort of went the way he needed to. There was a lot of space in behind. Liverpool had a high line in the first half.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of passes. I mean, they weren't chances, but I mean, Liverpool were vulnerable in the beginning. I think at least the first 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. But the quality of Liverpool obviously was just, it oozes when it needs to ooze, and you score at the right times and you're patient, and the players move in the right areas. They one thing I know in football is if you go to the right areas, 9 times out of 10 there will be a player to score. So players don't need to be attracted to the ball, and if you go to your area, generally the ball's going to go to one of the areas and there's going to be a player there. Whereas you find teams like of my quality, they're all attracted to the ball and they all run to one area and then the ball ends up at the back post, and
they have to pick it up from the nets at the back.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, Liverpool are a well-oiled machine. I think Klopp said it. They buried it up. They played short. They played long. They played in the spaces in between the midfield and the defense of Arsenal. And at the end of the day, what can we do? Someone's got to catch Liverpool, and I think the only thing we can do is try. I don't know if we'll be able to. I think. City's probably got the best chance, but they got a bit of a hide-in. I'm sure we'll speak about that. But
City at this moment in time will get 10. That's where they're at. They're all over the place. But yeah, we're going to get there. But to round off this sort of conversation in terms of what Arsenal are looking at and where Liverpool are going, Wonga, how do you see the rest of the season? Oh, sorry, Sello.
Can I ask you a question, Claudio? Did Firmino have a shot on target?
So here's the question about Firmino, guys. You wanna mention Firmino in terms of how effective he is? Firmino.
No. Listen.
Firmino. No. Let's. No, we're gonna talk. Let's talk about shots on target here. Firmino.
I don't want to talk about Firmino. The press is amazing. Like top 10.
It's not about the press. It's not just about the press.
Defensive attacker, best defensive attacker. And I'm asking, I asked you a question. Did he have a shot on?
He created chances. That's all he had to do. Let me tell you. No. We're gonna talk about this Firmino thing in terms of you've got to assess. You got to assess in terms of what's happening in terms of football at the moment. In the early 90s, it was a 4-4-2, right? Yeah. After in the 2000s, it was all 4-5-1, 4-5-1. Now things have shifted to a 4-3-3. But now, because of what's happening and the success that Liverpool are producing, it's not a traditional 4-3-3. It's a sense where you've got a player like Dele Alli, traditional number 10. He's not getting a look into Tottenham's team because he doesn't do enough. A Lampard now wouldn't be good enough to fit into most of these teams. I know that's an outrageous statement, but in terms of what he offers, what Firmino offers,
very outrageous statement.
Yeah, but in terms of what Firmino does, is he brings our dangerous players into the game. Not saying he isn't dangerous, but by his work rate in terms of Liverpool's whole pressure in terms of going forward, they attack by defending up front, fantastic. But then Firmino brings 3 or 4 players in because he's not afraid to also tackle in his own 6-yard box, come short and create space in behind for the likes of Salah and Mane.
I see his value a lot, right? In the big games, in terms of closing down, pressing, creating space for other players. He had an assist in the Chelsea game for Mane's goal. You know what I mean? I only bring about these questions because you find in the football fraternity, right? We like to highlight on other players, but we seldomly don't highlight on Firmino and ask questions about Firmino. You know what I mean? Firmino in the season where Liverpool came second, Firmino had great numbers in terms of goals and assists. But that dropped in the winning season, right? Yes. You don't look at players in a winning team as much as when they are losing. You know what I mean? So you focus on players when a team is not doing well, then you nitpick. But when a team is doing well, then you're like, okay, cool. Firmino, we won't say much. But I'm just asking the question because I often see conversations being had, and I ask, okay, cool. Did Firmino get a target? That's what I was asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
I find it difficult, man. Like, I understand, like, there's certain stats that you want to see from a Firmino type of player. But those stats aren't like always shots on target or attempts on target.
100%.
Sometimes his pass completion, his direction of passes. Is he passing backwards? Is he passing forward? The distance that he passes. How many players around him does he connect? And that's what, like, honestly, like, I no offense, but like, Man United doesn't have players like that, of that caliber. Where
Take
Mata,
offense, take offense. Please, take it
yeah,
all.
Mata could be that type of pass which connects the front line with the midfield, getting them through.
I disagree. I disagree completely with what you're saying. I disagree with what you're saying. But also, I only bring it about just so we can have a discussion around Firmino. I think sometimes we must never just say that Liverpool is 100%. You need to ask questions about certain players. And that's what I was asking. But I don't agree with what you're saying about Man United. I feel that Martial is a prime example to say that. Look at the guy. In terms of his the amount of chances he creates for other players. He creates chances by the space that he runs in. If you look at the goal that United scored on the weekend, Martial ran towards Bruno Fernandes, right? And he pulled Lewis Dunk with him, right? What did that do? They created space behind him for Rashford to run onto the ball. You understand what I'm saying? That those are the kind of things that you're talking about in terms of Firmino. Martial is doing the same thing. But what is Martial?
No ways.
Martial,
no, man. No, Sello, you're smoking your socks here.
What is Martial doing? Listen. The one thing that...
You're comparing Martial to Firmino.
I'm not,
he's comparing them.
No, but listen, I'm not comparing them. He said there's no one in Man United who's creating spaces for other players or touches and stuff like that. That's what he said.
No, I said there's no one. I said like the equivalent would be Amata. Or
okay, cool.
I wouldn't put a Lingard there. I wouldn't put I'd be scared to put anybody else. Bruno Fernandes would be.
But you're saying that he's not you're saying that he's not doing the touches that the Firmino does. I know Firmino does the one touch, the silky, 1-2, whatever, you know what I mean? I was saying that there are players in Man United who do create space for other players without even having to touch the ball. Because that's what Firmino sometimes does, is that he creates an opportunity for Mane without touching the ball. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, okay, cool. I was just asking a question, you know what I mean? And obviously,
ask, please. You must ask these questions because these questions will expose people. It's one of these things where it's like let me get to the fact.
It's about listen. I know Firmino's value to Liverpool, right? But I'm just asking questions that I see on social media. I'm just bringing topics that I get on social media.
And it's interesting because it's funny.
Would I take Firmino at Man United? No, I would never take Firmino at Man United. I would take Salah at Mane. I would never take Firmino.
And that's why Man United are going to struggle to get into the top 4.
I'll never take a Firmino.
But okay, I told you, Sello, if you bring up a Firmino, that's a segment on its own. It's one of those things.
Moving on to Chelsea.
It's the fire up your ass, that I know.
No, okay, but let me. Okay, I'm gonna round this off with the Firmino thing.
But listen. To be honest, Claudio, he's a guy who divides opinion. I think, but yeah, that's what I'll say. Is he divides opinion. Some see value, some don't see value, some see some value. I'll be the person to say I see some value in Firmino, and he fits well into that front three. You know what I mean? He's front three. It's a great. Sometimes certain front threes you can't put the players in other teams and they won't fit in. But that one just works. Perfectly.
Yeah, and just to round off.
Put him in different teams and still be able to produce a lot of options for attacking too.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is we started off the conversation in terms of a stat, in terms of what he had on target, right? Okay, if we're going to look at stats, we're going to look at things in terms of to Mosa. What Mosa brought up was a great perspective in terms of the value offer. If we're looking at different stats, one of the thing about football, or the main thing about football, is that football is scored from mistakes. Why Firmino is so effective, apart from being able to bring players into the game, is that he's able to win the ball and put players under pressure and make them make mistakes. And that's a turnover in terms of a stat that doesn't really get recorded in terms of the final assist. But he tends to put those players under pressure, something that Kale did very well on the weekend against Arsenal. So if we're looking at, I'm sorry, on Monday, it was on Monday. But if we're looking at Firmino, you've also got to then take what the traditional definition of what a striker was and what it offered as to what he's doing with that. He's redefining a sort of position that wasn't there a couple of years ago. 6 years ago, it was. We were all this, when Brendan Rodgers had Firmino, he was doing nothing. We said, get rid of this guy because they didn't know how to use him. A good manager like Klopp came in and he knows how to use him. He's bringing the best value. And because of a player like that, he's transformed Liverpool to a certain extent. But anyway, Liverpool are flying high at the moment. By the way, on a side note is that Thiago's got corona. It's official. It's been announced. That's why he's been missing. He's played one game, 45 minutes, and he's got corona. Just in case everyone... Yeah. But moving on to the next topic, we're going to discuss... We're going to look at the Man City versus Leicester game, guys. We knew the upset was on the cards. What are we thinking here?
Leicester looked awesome. They looked really, really good. They looked really, really good in my view. They created chances. They were in the front third. Generally, you'd expect Man City to take up all the position and kind of dominate the game, and teams have to break to time kind of like break that last line of defense at Man City. But Leicester were on top of them. They were breaking through the lines easy. They were getting in for opportunities right and center. It was great. It was great to watch Leicester. It looks like Brendan Rodgers has a breath of fresh air there.
City's backline is horrendous. And I know they've started this DS now, but I mean, obviously, we know they've got everything going forward. I mean, they're arguably just as good as Liverpool probably going forward, but defensively, they are an absolute shambles. So I don't know. Claudio, you'll know this DS from Benfica. I don't know if you follow him.
Yeah,
I've never seen him. I don't know how good he is. Is he any good? I know Otamendi went in the opposite direction. Probably good riddance for them, I would say. Makes too many mistakes. But I just don't know. I just don't know if they have enough, to be honest, at the back. They don't have a Van Dijk. That's essentially they don't have a Van Dijk, and I think that's where they sort of slipping up. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
I think when we're analyzing the start of the season, remember I said that if Liverpool if Man City got like Koulibaly, for instance, right, an imposing figure in the centre defense, that would be a game changer for them. That would be them literally being pound for pound with Liverpool, right? So since they didn't get that, it's been exposed. You know what I mean? It's like the 5-2 is that you don't have that imposing.
Big highway. N1.
Exactly, and then you've got your fullbacks in Walker and Mendy. Mendy, I've said about Mendy in terms of how he's a -1 in defense, but also Walker, like defensively, you can't be in a position where Vardy is ahead of you in the box. He was just, he was positioned poorly for the first penalty, and he then decides to foul Vardy. You know what I mean? Vardy's not about to make a shot with his left foot and it's a guaranteed goal. You know what I mean? He should have just left Vardy and just take a chance and try to recover somehow. But you decide to foul him.
But not even foul him, Sello, to your point, like the build-up to that. I've never in my life, Mosa, a professional footballer, that oak is on crack, cocaine, I don't know what he's on. A professional footballer, the ball's in front of the lad. The ball's in front of the lad. He's got his whole back turned towards the ball and he's faced that way. Like, I can't, like, for the life of me, I can't fathom it. I got taught. There was the Namibian head coach taught me when I was down in Cape Town. He was like, I've never in my life been told, like, my positioning and my shape of my body and where I'm at all times. Like, you tend to watch the man, you kind of know where he is. But this guy told me, depending on where the goalposts were, your body needs to be shaped with the goalposts. So if the ball's being played there and the goalpost behind me, I need to make sure I've always got my back like that. If the ball's on that side, I need to make sure it's that way. I've never in my life seen a guy who's turned his back on a player who's a couple of meters away from him, and he's one of the, like, he's a dangerous player with the ball. He's an attacking player. I like drugs, cocaine, I don't know, whatever the fuck's on. It's arrogant. I don't know. Yeah.
That's drugs, cocaine.
But I'll tell you as a coach, all players are stupid no matter what level you're at. All players are stupid. Now, I'll be honest with you.
That's why we play,
coaches. Players,
that's why we're not playing.
They are stupid. So I don't know if it's just a moment of madness. It might have just been a moment of madness because I'm sure he looks back at it and
but Walker does that too often, man. That's the problem.
Yeah,
often.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Wonga's caught out of position too often. He's not a player like I don't know who, man. You know, and I'm trying to think of a right back who's never caught out of position, but he's always caught out of position. You know what I mean? And he often relies on his pace too much to make up for his mistakes. But in the box, you can't make up for mistakes in the box by pulling down people. You know, you can pull down someone outside the box, but you can't pull down someone in the box. And also, as I said, Vardy was going to be on his left foot to shoot. It's a 50-50. It's not his stronger foot. Just let the guy go, and then I don't know, try block the shot or something. But man, and then well for the fifth penalty as well, positioning as well. But Mendy is man. Like if City don't put out the left back position, they will.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, Sello? I'm thinking they're going to play Ake on the left hand side, which is why they're signing him. They're only playing him centre back, largely to fill the hole up until they sign someone. And they've signed Ruben Dias at the moment. And to what Nick was asking, is he a good player? Isn't he a bad player? The thing is at Benfica, when you're playing a Benfica, you're playing a very attacking style of football. So they tend to expose the defenders a lot, almost like Liverpool do with their centre halves and Barcelona do. So you tend to have to defend a lot by yourself. So he is good at being exposed. He is good at having the ball at his feet and passing. And one of the big things that they're really lacking at the back and something he can offer is that he's a very, very big leader. Huge leader in the dressing room. He's got his say. You can actually, if you go online, you can see him having team talks with the lads. The only issue is he's only 23 years old. So to bring him in, it's different. So we were talking about Jota last week. Bring him in. Oh, it's great because he's 23 years old. He's an attacker. But an attacker can get away with not being as great in front of goal as what a defender can be. The affordance for mistakes is very different. So that's the one thing that's not in his favor. He's coming to the Premier League to a Man City side that are leaking goals, that are a bit all over the place. It's almost like the intensity of Pep. That's why he doesn't stay at a club for too long. His intensity is overbearing. And unless you get on board with it, players do get fatigued. That's one of the things where Klopp is good at, tends to relax the players somehow. I don't know how he does it, but that's the difference between the two. So, yeah, City have a lot of issues. But I'm wondering, in terms of Leicester's...
a lot away from Leicester's performances.
Exactly.
City, they do have some issues, but Leicester are actually firing on all cylinders very, very nicely this season. And that's... it'd be unfair for us to blame and look at City's defenses. That is where the issue was over the weekend. The reality is that's really good. You could have taken on
Tielemans is quite a player, though. Eh?
No, he is. He's a great player. He's a great player in the midfield. And also the thing that was great from Leicester is that they did well even without Ndidi. You know, and Ndidi's going to be out for about 3 months. And they did they were amazing. You know, they started off a little bit slow, but after they conceded the early goal, they just slowly but surely got it back into the game, and they played well. You know, and I think they rightfully at the top of the log on goal difference. And I think you're going to see some good things from Leicester this season. It'll be interesting to see how they juggle Europa League and the Premier League. You know, playing on a Thursday, Sunday. You know, sometimes that does affect teams, especially teams without adequate depth. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see Leicester. I was just saying that we can't discuss Everton, but also Everton, man, guys. Everton and Leicester have been the most impressive teams for me so far this season. Liverpool, you know what you're gonna get from Liverpool. So Liverpool are the same standard of last season, but Everton and Leicester, especially Everton, man, they just look good. They just look good going forward.
Yeah, if Everton win their game on the weekend, it's going to be the first time since I think it's 110 years or something that they've won 6 consecutive games in a row. So they are on a roll. To Leicester's point, what I liked about Leicester in terms of what Brendan Rodgers said after the game is that he said he had to do something and he had to go against his grain in terms of how he set up for the team. He normally just plays his style, which is kind of what Pep does, but he had to adapt. And he, in the end, he was validated for his efforts in terms of his approach to the game. And I mean, a 5-2 is quite a pounding. So whether or not they're going to make top 4, I think it's likely. It's a nice mix when you've got a bunch of players who are underrated. They work well as a team and they buy into the manager's philosophy. I think that's a very dangerous combination if you have to face a side like that. But I'm wondering what Wonga's thoughts are, because since he switched the lights off, he's completely switched the lights off his chats in this conversation as well. So what's going on?
Now I remember I thought from last week, I was pretty sure that Leicester were capable of causing an upset. And just like you saying with Brendan Rodgers, and I'm pretty sure he had something up his sleeve. I mean, he played in that I think the Carabao and Oscar Cup, but he didn't play, he didn't. I don't think he played one first team player. And yeah, he came into that game with a plan. And it worked out. And I mean, looking at Brendan Rodgers as well, when he was there, when he was at Liverpool as well, what you just said now, he's also when he started there at Liverpool was when he started. But I mean, yeah, the players he had, I mean, Britain, everyone saw he scored the 49 goals in the Dutch league, but people were like, it's the Dutch league. He got Brendan Rodgers. I mean, the way Liverpool play now, I mean, I'm pretty them doing the same thing close back then. I mean, everyone was working for him and willing to down the pitch for him, and I think that's why I mean, yes, they didn't win the league, but it was a surprise to everyone that they actually, yeah.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, and I did say before that there was a team that probably I don't see anyone beating Liverpool, but I think Leicester could come close. Just like you said, I do think Leicester can come close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game when that. Arguably, they're probably the hardest test. But I think it's about that time, guys.
What about Chelsea, though?
Yes, son. Forget about average teams.
Chelsea.
I forgot about them.
It's tough times, actually.
All right, we're in here. Let's go.
Six goal thriller.
6 goal thriller, and he left it out just like that.
It's because you weren't here last week, bro.
That's why you guys are just running over Chelsea. Just like that. I gotta make.
What's funny is you weren't here last week because you had no power, and now you're sitting in a room that's completely dark. I don't know if you brought that to Wonga. I don't know what's.
I was hoping for power.
That shit isn't a thing anymore, guys.
Yes, son, dude. Candlelight dinners there. Okay, so Mosa, what's going on here with this whole Palace Chelsea performance, dude? Is Lampard like a younger version of Tony Pulis, or what's going on here?
It's a mixed bag, if you ask me, in terms of emotions coming from that game. On the one side, I'm very, very pleased to see the character of the gents going into halftime 3-0 down, for them to come back and pull it to 3-3. That's good. It shows some character within the squad, especially how they actually conceded those 3 goals. So it shows that there's a resolve and some type of a championship mettle within the boys' blood, which is dope to see. The difficulty is that they had to go down, and it's very difficult to recover from any type of game. So that's what's creating the mixed bag. The other thing to put into the perspective is it's still like I was always concerned about the reality that Lampard has got a whole new suite of players. He's got the budget of players that he wanted, and he's brought them all in. We still haven't been able to see which formation or which approach Lampard is going to follow and try and dictate the team to follow. And there's still players that we still haven't seen so far this season. Great players like Ziyech and Pulisic, who are going to change a lot of the energy in the team once they start, also getting into play. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag of emotions from my side. Good to see the resolve, but still a lot of questions to be answered.
I see a comment here on what's this thing called YouTube. Sello says that Mason Mount is Frank Lampard's son. Like he doesn't like the favoritism towards Mason Mount. He doesn't see the value in. I remember I was having a chat with you, and you were saying that Mason Mount should bench a bit. He was saying that his best formation should be playing Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, Werner, and Tammy Abraham, and putting Mount on the bench. What do you think about that, Mosa?
Could be fair. Could be very, very fair, especially when Pulisic does come back and is hot to actually take on that same position as well. Because they'll bring the same energy and the same style of play as well. It's just tricky. Mason Mount is super talented. Super, super talented kid. And he can fit in any attacking position there at Chelsea at the moment. I think
the man led the comeback as well with a fantastic strike from outside of the box.
That was a great strike.
Come on, the keeper.
Let us lazy.
But he missed the crucial penalty last night.
Yeah, crucial, but he had a good game. Penalties are penalties. It's very difficult with penalties. It does come down to some element of luck.
I thought they were easy.
No, you go take a penalty in front of the wall. I'm
just joking after the first episode that we had about penalties, so that's why. But no, it is difficult, and like especially in the pressure situation, the last penalty of the game, I think, it was obviously the what's this thing called, sudden death, where if he misses that, it's obviously they would lose. It's not easy, but yeah, and I think Chelsea have a lot of issues, man. I read a stat where Chelsea last season, Lampard had 54 different lineups in 60 matches. And again, even to start this season, he hasn't, there's been a bit of injuries, but he hasn't found his starting lineup and starting from the back. You know what I mean? Obviously, with the new goalkeeper, he had to kind of like wait for him to come in, and then played Caballero on the weekend, and then now playing Thiago Silva and Christensen. And it's a lot of change, and I think
it's unfortunate that they got kicked out of cup football with that loss yesterday, because it'd be beneficial to Chelsea to play more football, to have as many games available to their roster this year. But there's no preseason. There's no time to test out these things. Yeah, exactly. There's no time to test.
That's the tough part.
Preseason's now. The preseason's now for the next still probably 3-4 games. So it's probably a preseason. Eh?
So Musa, who do you start as your back four on the weekend?
Tough questions. I was impressed with Azpilicueta's commitment and his kind of like drive. I like to see it. So I'd start with him on the right back. Centre back, Thiago, I'd have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Look, it'd be foolish to kill his confidence after he's come so far. And also, he did make one mistake, and that's unfortunate. He's only human. So I'd like to have him in the back. If we can then forfeit a Jorginho in the midfield. I feel like having a Thiago there would forfeit that need for Jorginho. You can have Kante in front of him as well. And then Zuma next to him. And I'm not too sure about Chilwell and Marcos Alonso. They're both great players. It's a good problem to have players that are very, very technically astute, got great solid left feet, and it feels like they could be dependable. So that left back position, if I have to put anybody on it, I'd say Marcos Alonso, just because he's been there before and I've seen him work with the lads. But
wait, didn't him and Lampard have like almost like a fight or something? He wanted to, when he got substituted, he wanted to watch the match on the bus. I don't know if I read correctly. So something about some disharmony between him and Alonso. I don't know. Maybe
I haven't seen that. So if there is, Chilwell isn't a bad replacement in that regard as well. So that would be my back four. I'd like to have James on the right, but it's tough. It's tough. Azpilicueta adds a little bit more character and a little bit more.
Jorginho, I don't think Jorginho is going to be there by the time Monday comes and the transfer window closes, to be honest. I think other clubs are looking at the moment. I know Arsenal's one of the suitors.
Arsenal just wants to take...
PSG also looking. So Chelsea found themselves in an interesting position. I think... but to what you were saying is that a lot of the players haven't been fit. They haven't all played together. I mean, Thiago Silva, your most experienced player, gave one of the goals away on the weekend, which is pretty interesting. He slipped and he let them in at the back. You've got a lot of them that still need to come and gel together. Timo Werner scored 2 days ago, so that's going to be huge for him. I actually think he's going to start scoring now. So I think that's going to be. I think they'll get there. It's just like Nick was saying, is that the preseason is now, so there's going to be a lot of gelling that needs to happen, because they have brought in a lot of players, and we all know when you bring new players in, it does change the environment, the atmosphere a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of where they're at. It's going to take time for them. I don't know if it's a shoe-in yet for them in terms of top 4. It's going to be difficult.
I think that's why I'm impressed with that 3-3 result. They are still having to fix a lot of things, but at least they're still getting the results, which is crucially important for me. Like a team of players of that caliber, you might not get it all right, but if they can just get a result, that's important. That at least makes sure that it's a good base for them to work from, as opposed to losing those points as we learn.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, Nick, you want to say something?
I think there's a standard top 2. I think we know. Well, after this weekend, I'm not too sure with City, but I think we got a guaranteed one in there with Liverpool. I'd think City would naturally, but I mean, it's not a given, I mean, you've got your Man United, your Chelseas, your Spurs, your Arsenals all fighting. You've got your Wolves, you've got your Evertons, you've got Newcastle United. You never know, eh? We might just spring a surprise. But yeah, like you said, it's not a shoe-in for anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
At the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see. And I think the first sort of 10, 12 games will be a good sort of barometer to see where we are at. And then from there, I mean, you can sort of gauge whether or not a team is a title contender or not. I mean, I didn't even throw in Leicester there. Leicester will be there and thereabouts, So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Would it be brave to say Leeds could even impress a few people or turn a few eyebrows?
Top 10. Top 10, definitely.
I think they're going to concede a lot of goals.
Cue. Yeah, I think that's a good cue to discuss this weekend's predictions, because we got Leeds versus City this weekend on Saturday.
The master versus the apprentice.
Who's the apprentice and who's the master in this situation?
Master's Bielsa, man. Master's Bielsa.
Guardiola looks up to the man.
He loves the man.
Good reason.
Yeah, for very good reason.
He might expose him.
I personally think, and I said it on this in our first episode, I personally think they're going to concede a lot of goals this season. They already have. I mean, they played against Fulham. They conceded 3 goals. And Fulham have been very underwhelming, to be fair. They will cause a lot of problems in the final third, in the opposition's final third. I just don't know if they can keep them out, because that expansive style of football is going to be very tough to just sort of maintain for 38 games, because it's a very hard way of playing. They press for 90 minutes. And you guys know as players, it's very hard to press for 90 minutes. You have to be extremely, extremely fit. And I know the players, I watched an interview with Patrick Bamford. I mean, he said, I'm 10 times fitter than I've ever been in my whole career, but I just don't know if you can maintain that for 38 games, plus all your cup competitions, etc., etc. So they might peak by Christmas, January, and maybe taper off from there. I don't know. Listen, it will be a great story. Leeds are back in the league, big club. We can't forget that they're a very big club in English football. Even though they've been out of the top tier for a while, it will be good for sort of the brand of the Premier League. But can they maintain it for that long? That sort of very intense style of pressing, playing the ball out of the back, lots of runners in behind, spaces in between the lines. Can they? I think they can, but maybe for 2/3 of the season. Tomorrow's game, not tomorrow's game, Saturday's game, correct? I think City need to come up with something. I think Guardiola's head might be in the chopping block if he loses this one. So I do see them getting a victory, maybe a slim one, but I do see them winning. Maybe 1-0, 2-1 City.
Cool.
I reckon 3-2. Definitely 3-2 to City. In there. And also Leeds, the nice thing I've seen with Leeds, they've added some quality signings as well. Some internationals to their team. Yes, against Liverpool, the international players cost them penalties, but I think also with some more game time, those guys will obviously improve, and they continuously trying to improve the squad with some more quality. and I definitely think that they will definitely do well this season. So top 10, definitely I see Leeds against top 10. But I think that this week that Bielsa, that Pep will obviously want to get the 3 points. Doesn't want to be left further behind Liverpool. If they lose, then it's 9 points because obviously the game in hand. So it'll be a 9-point gap to Liverpool and Leicester. That won't be good for him. So I think they want to obviously make a statement. So I think 3-2 to City.
Cool, Mosa.
Sounds like from your guys' predictions that Man City still won't be able to resolve some of their defensive issues, and they'll have to rely on their attacking prowess. And I think that Pep is probably going to focus a lot more on his organization at the back. So I'd go with the same prediction that Kevin's got. Kevin Rakoma there of a 2-0. Man City's prowess, Morris is looking good. The attacking players are looking active. It's just if they can set that back four and try not to leak too much, which I think they will be able to pull off. So I'd go for.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that we know that Leeds have played 3 games in total. All 3 games have been 15 goals scored. So it's going to be a thriller it's going to be a game.
They won 1-0 the week. They won 1-0 against Sheffield.
Yeah, but they won, right? So it's building on that confidence, and they got the results. It was a tight one. I'm thinking though that they're going to put it to your points, guys. Like the season is a long season. Are they going to be able to keep it up? I'm not sure, but they're going to be buzzing for City on the weekend. They're going to see City have conceded 5 goals against Leicester, and they're going to be licking their lips if they put them under pressure. And they're playing at home. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Anyone who wants to take a bet, I'm a gambling man. I'm saying 3-3. That's going to be the final outcome. I think City are going to drop more points. It's going to be 3-3.
I can bet.
Yeah, go do it. Go put some money down there. I think the odds will look likely. It's going to be good. If you don't have Bamford, whatever the striker's name is from Leeds in your fantasy team, make that happen because that's where I'm leaning towards.
You're going to take this offline, me and you.
I've got money at least.
Cool. So that's where I'm leaning towards. The next game we're going to talk about is Chelsea versus Crystal Palace.
Tricky game. Crystal Palace have a lot to offer going forward. They can create a lot of headaches for aged legs like Thiago Silva. Zuma might be able to compete with legs, but yeah, it could be tricky. But I do think the guys are getting it together. If I do see Abraham up front with the Havertz behind him and see Werner and Hudson-Odoi around there could be a lot of goals to come from that. But I just wish and hope that I don't see Kante and Jorginho sentiment. I think that it removes too much attacking impetus. Both of them sit in the middle and they both get lost on the breakdown, which is weird to see. I'd rather have one of them just there, one of them take the responsibility for cleaning up and let the rest go and fly, because the rest can go and fly. That's what they did for. So yeah. So I see creating.
I'm going for a Chelsea win. Yeah, I need Werner to score. He's been in my team. I've trusted him. My fantasy team is struggling at the moment, so I'm just going to put sort of all my eggs in one basket. Make him my captain this weekend. He's going to score a hat trick. 3-1 Chelsea.
Perfect. Yeah, 3-1 as well myself.
Fair shot. Yeah, Sello.
Musa, you also saying 3-1?
Yeah.
What, are they playing at Selhurst Park or?
Playing at Stamford Bridge.
Stamford Bridge. Okay, no. I was thinking of 1-1, but man, I don't know. I feel that the players that Chelsea have, if those guys, are on song, then obviously they'll obviously attack and get the goals that are necessary. And I think that Thiago Silva will not want to make any more mistakes. So I'll give it to Chelsea and say 2-1. 2-1 result to Chelsea. Goal scorers on the day: Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. Let me give Havertz a goal since he took a break. Since he took a break on Tuesday. So let me give him a goal. And Zaha or Ayew will score for Palace.
Yeah, I think Zaha is going to come up with a goal for Crystal Palace, connecting.
Yeah. So if there's one thing I've noticed is that both Saha and Townsend are in form at the moment. And they love showing up for the big games. So I don't think it's going to be a 3-1. It's going to be straightforward. I think Chelsea are going to have to roll up their sleeves to get a result. So I'm thinking it might be a 2-1. I'm still leaning towards Chelsea. I do think what Nick was saying in terms of captaining Verdner, I think that's a good call because I think he's just gonna unleash now. He's got his goal during the week, and that's what he needed to open the floodgates. Yeah. So, and I've got someone at the moment who's messaging me saying they hope I put my money where my mouth is and captain Bamford from Leeds. So that's that side note. But yeah, I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory to Chelsea. And now the big one for the weekend. No, I'm just kidding. But it's big for me.
It's a massive one. It's a massive one. I know which one you're talking about.
This one here. Newcastle, Burnley. What's going to happen, Nick? Lead us on this conversation. What's going to happen there?
We've probably played the worst football I've ever seen us play, ever. So, and I've had to endure Graham Souness, Alan Pardew, Ruud Gullit. I've been fortunate enough to have Rafa Benitez, Kevin Keegan, and Sir Bobby Robson. But I've had real shite in my life, and I think Steve Bruce is probably the worst. But somehow he gets results. I don't know. He gets results. So I think Burnley are very vulnerable. I think they can turn it on when they want to turn it on. And I just think it's just going to be a horrible game to watch. I think the ball's not going to touch the ground for much of the game. So you might not see it. It's just going to go from centre back to centre back. Kite play essentially. But so I do think we have a little bit more quality. As much as it's a very sort of flawed term, but yeah, I think we've got a little bit more quality than them, and I think we could possibly sneak a 1 or a 2-0. I think Wilson in any team would score goals. I think he's got that little bit of quality that
good player.
I think if he just gets a little bit of service. I mean, Shelvey was dead average this week, yesterday. And he just showed the little bit of quality that he has. If he gets the ball out of his feet, and he's got a pass on him, or he's got a sort of a goal in him, and he scored a great goal, top corner. I do think there's individuals that are better than the Burnley squad. I think the team and the squad needs to roll up their socks and their sleeves and really deliver at home because they were embarrassed against a very average Brighton team. On paper, they played really well, but on paper, I mean, they were a relegation candidate for me and a few of you lads as well. So, at the end of the day, they got to prove it. Man for man on paper doesn't mean anything. So, unfortunately, maybe they're not being coached the right way, or they've got the right sort of direction. But at the end of the day, we need to go and sort of prove it on the pitch. So I will never say that my team will lose. So I told you guys this last week, but I'm actually quite confident that we will get a win this week. So I'm going to go for, let's say 2-1. I think we will concede. I think a 2-1 win.
I think it's going to be a draw.
Draw?
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry, man. I think it's going to be a draw. Burnley, a tough team to beat, just in general. Sean Dyche just sets up his in matches like against. I don't want to say similar quality, but in matches against teams that are in a similar position, he just does something. I don't know what he does, but he just does something a bit extra. And I think, 1-1. I think 1-1 is a scoreline.
Okay. What do you think?
That's a fair shot, Sello. I'm not completely disagreeing, but I'm going to lean towards Newcastle winning. I'm actually thinking 2-0 to Newcastle. They are playing at home. I think that if they start Carroll, then they're going to be effective because they might just get another penalty in the box, just pumping their ball in there, come off an arm. No, so I'm thinking that's where my head's at.
Even his fake arm.
Even his fake arm, yeah. I don't think Burnley have enough to be honest. I think you guys are right. They're going to be struggling at the bottom along with Sheffield and the other guys in Fulham. Arsenal, Sheffield, lads.
All the way. Sheffield have lost 3 games in a row. Arsenal want to bounce back from the loss on Monday. I reckon that 2-0 to Arsenal. 2-0 to Arsenal. Sheffield, I didn't see Sheffield getting a goal. They've been poor. I think actually Sheffield, if they don't fix things, they might actually be a relegation candidate, definitely. So I think
I said it. I think I said it in our first episode. We spoke. You have that first year. I mean, there's teams that have that first year bounce, and it was evident. Burnley had it the first year. They came up, and then they struggled the next season. Unfortunately, teams will find them out. That stimulus or that sort of stimulation of being in the Premier League and every sort of new ground is exciting, and there's a new opportunity to go and deliver, is not there anymore in the second season. And you're not now the new boys with nothing to lose. You've got something to lose now. You've got what, 8th position? I think they finished 8th or 7th. I definitely think they're going to struggle. In terms of this game, I think Arsenal, they've got something to sort of prove after a good sort of first half, against Liverpool. I think if they play against Sheffield United, they're going to have far too much quality. I see this being a sort of a 3-0. I think Aubameyang will get a couple. Maybe even a Pepe might even get something. I don't know. I think it's just going to be sort of a walkover for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, clean sheet definitely.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a 3-1 towards Arsenal. I think they're gonna. I think there was always a chance of them conceding, but I do think they're going to be far too much for Sheffield. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. 3-1. And then the big game for the weekend, the one that's got us licking our lips. Oops, that's someone else's prediction. Is obviously where we're headed with this one. This is going to be a tricky one.
Tell us.
United 2-1. Man United 2-1.
Okay.
Man United 2-1. I feel. Listen. Both managers have been talking crap about each other this whole week. They've been throwing it at each other. Obviously, Mourinho started in saying that, at least I get what, sometimes teams will get penalties after the final whistle or something like that. He was throwing a jab at Solskjaer. But I think that will be a 2-1 to United. I just feel that Bale started training today. And I don't think he'll be ready for the weekend. And without Son being out with a hamstring injury, I just feel that we'll win. If Son was there or Bale was there, I'd maybe be a bit more worried. But I feel 2-1 should be the scoreline.
Knowing Mourinho, to be honest with you, though, he's a master at that, and he will let the media know what Man United needs to know. I wouldn't be surprised if Bale's on the bench, at least. I don't know. If he's starting to train, that's a statement. Even if he doesn't come on, even if he comes on for 5 minutes, you never know. I can
just see their faces. I can see Ole's face. If Bale walks past him on the bench.
It might be just like you rock up and then the squad's there. But, I'm just looking at what they did last week against us, and they absolutely murdered us. If it wasn't for Claudio in goals,
Son was playing as well.
Fair enough, but and they're also playing against the blind school, to be fair. But when they get it going, they played some good stuff against Chelsea in the week, and they didn't have they didn't have a weak side on, and Chelsea didn't either, to be fair. And they moved the ball quite nicely. I think it's going to be a very close game. I do see a draw written all over it, but I'd like to think. The football lover in me would be that there's a couple of goals. I think both teams are very vulnerable to concede. So I'm leaning towards a Man United 2-1 win. 2-1 win.
So
I think Pogba's going to be the difference.
If there's betting people watching our show, there's an option on betting that both teams to score. That one definitely you can write 100%,
that 100%. Put your money down now.
Both teams to score 100%.
Yeah, you guys are saying 2-1 to United. I'm actually going 2-1 to Spurs, just because I can see what's going to happen. It's going to be, because you've got United obviously get results in the big games because they set up shop differently. They sit deeper and they catch players in the counter-attack. I think what Mourinho's been doing against big teams is the same thing. So we know Tottenham aren't going to have the ball in this game. It's going to be asking more questions from United. If I'm Mourinho, I'm saying, cool, give them the ball. Let's see what they can do. And they're not going to be able to break Tottenham down. So that's why I'm leaning towards Tottenham's side. I do think it's going to be 2-1 because I think not both teams aren't good enough to keep a clean sheet.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that's how it's going to unfold. I think Tottenham are going to go there, smash and grab sort of vibes, and Mourinho is going to be happy with it, regardless of who plays, whether or not Son's available or whoever. With Kane, that's enough. That's enough to sit deep and catch players on the counter.
No, he needs a partner. I always feel Kane needs someone to play with him, man. And that Son and Kane partnership is probably one of the best partnerships in the Premier League. Bergwijn was okay. It's on Tuesday. Lamela tries too much, so he won't even start. But I think he'll probably start. But also, I think he'll probably actually do that the whole back three thing. Three at the back. He obviously trialed it now on Tuesday, and it was okay. Reguilon was okay. He made an error for the first goal, but I think he'll obviously adjust accordingly as the games go on. But yeah, we'll see, man. But Son is him missing is big. Is big.
Yeah. All right, guys. Last one. Aston Villa, Liverpool. I don't think it's going to be a long conversation, yeah?
No. I mean, to be fair, Villa have been half decent. They signed Barkley. How's that signing there?
Good, man.
That's not bad. Listen, I'll give it to them. They in the top 4 or they top 5. They got 6 points, I think.
Yeah, good start.
Good for them. Good start. Yes, good start. I think Barkley's a good signing. To be fair, I mean, I would have taken him at Newcastle. I don't know why we didn't. I didn't know he was available.
Hey, he said Jack Grealish convinced him. So you guys don't.
Yeah, I think they're going to be dynamite together. They're going to be.
Yeah, they'll be good. But listen, I think Liverpool's a steam train, not waiting to be stopped. I think it's almost like who can stop us. I think any combination that you kind of put out, I think he can tinker with the sort of squad as much as he wants to and sort of try different combinations. I think that will hold you in good stead moving forward into the season, Champions League, different cup competitions. Hopefully you play your kids when we probably meet you in the quarterfinals, Claudio. I'm assuming we'll draw you. I mean, we've had an easy route all the way through. But like I said, there's so many different combinations within your squad that you can use. And I mean, like I said to you in our last episode or the episode before, I think you finally have depth in that front three. And I think that was sort of the difference between you and City maybe 2 seasons ago. And now you've got it. And I just don't see anyone stopping you. But at the end of the day, it's 90 minutes football. Anything can happen. A red card can happen in the first 5 minutes. 2 red cards can happen in the first 6 minutes. And then sort of everything changes. So can you do it? Yes, I think you can. I think it will be an easy, probably a 3-1. I think you might concede. I think it looked a little bit shaky in the last couple of sort of games. Just not shaky, but there's like 1 or 2 mistakes that are sort of creeping in. But I do think your forward line is just far too strong, and your midfield is just a rock-solid block in front of that back 4. So, yeah, 3-1 Liverpool. Grealish to score for Villa.
I think 3-0 to Liverpool. I think they'll keep it. 3-0 to Liverpool. They've just got, as you said, man. That was something that I think I raised in the first episode, is that Liverpool needed to add some depth to the squad, you know. So with the depth that they had, okay, cool. One player's obviously got coronavirus, but still, you know, they've got a good midfield options, and then Diego Jota to come off on the bench. He's also quite energetic, trying to prove a point, you know. So 3-0. I'll give Roberto Firmino a goal. He does well away from home in terms of scoring goals. So I'll give Firmino a goal. And I think Salah will also score. He's been quiet in the last 2 games because obviously Mane is the man for the big occasion. Salah is very good against these smaller teams. These left backs see nothing in the game. So I definitely think that Salah will get a goal and Firmino will get a goal. Maybe Trent will score a free kick as well.
I like the way you guys are talking. This is the conversations I enjoy being a part. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's going to be one where Liverpool are actually going to get that clean sheet. I don't think they should have conceded against Villa. So 3-0. That's where I'm at. That's me.
Yeah. No,
thank you very much for the evening, my gents.
Yeah, hey, the other guys ran off somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's load shedding, but yeah.
All right, we'll catch you guys next week.
Always a pleasure. Peace.
Sweet. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.